Hello, welcome to this video about how to construct your personal dress pattern. This dress pattern is based on your size chart with your measurements and calculations that I went through in my previous videos. So take a look. If you want to follow along and make your own clothes, you should check out these videos and download the size chart for free. The dress is constructed as half a pattern. You will need a big piece of cardboard, about 65 times 100 centimeters, a big ruler, a triangle, a curved ruler, and a sharp pencil to create this basic dress pattern. The basic pattern form is built in a numerical order, starting from number 1 and upwards. The finished pattern might look confusing with all these numbers, but let me walk you through it step by step. We are starting with the back center by drawing a long vertical line on the right side of the cardboard here. On top, we are marking number 1. From 1 to 2, we mark the back height plus extra width, which is half a centimeter to 1 centimeter, according to the recipe. From 1 to 3, we mark the back length. From 1 to 4, we mark the hip depth. And finally, from 1 to 5, we are marking the length of the dress, the length that you wish. From all these points, 1 to 5, we draw horizontal lines to the left. From 3 to 6, we mark 2 centimeters in for the back center line. Make the same mark from 4 to 7. From here on, draw the center back length from 1 over 6 to 7 and further down to 8, the length of the dress. Next to number 2, we mark the new point, 9. From 9 to 10, we measure the back width, plus half a centimeter in extra width for movement. Continuing from 10 to 11, we measure 2/3 of the armhole width, plus 1 to 1.5 centimeter in extra width. From 11 to 11A, make some space between the two side seams, about 8 to 10 centimeters. From 11A to 12, measure 1/3 of the armhole width, plus 1 to 1.5 centimeters in extra width. From 12 to 13, measure the calculated chest width, plus 1 to 1.5 centimeters in extra width. 13 to 9 is a very important control measurement. When you measure this, it has to add up to half of the chest circumference, plus the extra width that you added. So you measure from 13 to 11A, and again from 11 to 9. Add the measurements plus the extra width, and it has to add up to half of the chest circumference. From 13 to 14, you measure 1/10 of the chest circumference plus half a centimeter inwards. This is the chest incision line. From here on, you draw all the vertical lines perpendicularly. From number 10, you draw the back with line upwards. Draw the guidelines for the side seams at 11 and 11A downwards to the lower edge. Draw the sleeve projection line at 12, this line here, and the chest incision line at 14, up and down. And finally, the front center line, up and down to the lower edge. Back to the back piece, from 1 to 15. You mark the neck with minus half a centimeter. From there you measure 2 centimeters perpendicularly up for the neck height and mark it 16. The neck shape can now be drawn in with your curved ruler. Like that. Mark 17, where the neckline crosses the back width line. From 17 to 18, you measure 1 to 1.5 centimeter down for the oblique position of the shoulder. For a straight shoulder, use only 1 centimeter. Draw a guideline for the shoulder from 16 through 18. The shoulder extends outwards with 1 to 1.5 centimeter, which you mark 19. Now measure from 10 to 18 and divide the height into half and draw a line perpendicularly to center back. Mark 1/4 of the height from 10 to 18, which is number 20. From 20, mark 1.3 centimeter out, which is 21, the rear sleeve insertion point. Mark point 22 on the sleeve projection line on the front piece, which is the same height as 21 on the back piece. From 12, mark the front sleeve insertion point, which is front sleeve insertion point, which is 1/4 of the armhole width from your size chart. Mark that upwards here. From 12 and up, take the same measures as 10 to 18 on the back, minus 2 centimeter, and mark it 23. On the chest incision line, mark 24 at the waist. And measure the front length up and mark it 25. From 25, mark the bust height down as 26. Remember to subtract the neck measure on these two measures, both the front length and the bust height. From the points 25 and 23 over here, draw circular arcs to the right with center points in 26 and 12 respectively. Use some thread, hold your finger at 26 and draw a circular arc from 25 outwards, like that. The same from 12, hold it steady and draw a circular arc from 23. On the circular arc from 23, mark 1/10 of half the chest circumference out as 27. If you have a bigger bust, you add 1 centimeter more. Draw a guideline from 27 to 22. From 16 to 19, measure the back shoulder length, minus 1 centimeter, and transfer this measure from 27 onto the circular arc from 25. This is 28. On the front piece, connect 25 perpendicularly with the center front line. Center front is here, so you draw a line perpendicularly and mark it 29. From 29 to the right, mark the neck width minus half a centimeter as 30. From 29 and down, the center front line, mark the neck width plus 1 centimeter as 31. From 29 towards 12, mark the measurement for the width of the neck here. By connecting these 3 points with the curved ruler, you can now draw the front neckline. Draw the front armhole as well as shown in the drawing. You have the guideline here and you go 1 centimeter in the middle of the guideline, and use your curved ruler to draw the front armhole. From 16 on the back, mark the shoulder dart line 3 to 5 centimeters down, and draw a perpendicular line to the horizontal line between 10 and 18. Mark 1 centimeter outwards on the horizontal line and distribute 1 to 1.5 centimeters in all for a back incision to the shoulder dart line, which will be moved when you copy the pattern. Next is the bust incision. Take the measures from 30 to 25 and transfer this from 28 towards 27 and mark it as 32. Connect 32 with 26 and measure the length. Transfer this length from 26 upwards on the chest incision line and mark it as 33. Connect 33 with 30. Now on to the main incision. First the front piece. On the vertical sleeve projection line, mark 34 on the waistline, and from here measure 1/4 of the waist circumference minus 1 centimeter to the left and mark it 35. From 35 to the right, measure half of the waist circumference plus 2 to 3 centimeters in extra width and mark it 36 on the back piece. So you measure from 35 to the sideline, continue from the back sideline and mark it as 36. Between 36 and 6 appears a surplus measure, which is used for the coming incisions. Now, before you draw the side seams, you need to raise the waist 1 centimeter on both sides and draw a short horizontal guideline, as shown here. Go 1 centimeter up and draw some guidelines on each side. Take half of the width surplus on the waistline and distribute it on each side seam. So if you have 6 centimeter here, take half of it, 3 centimeter, and distribute it with 1.5 centimeters in on each side. From these new points, you can now draw the side upwards to 11A and 11. The rest of the surplus measure between 36 and 6 is placed as a waist incision in the middle of the back piece. Divide the back waist length and draw a guideline raised 0.5 centimeter from the waist. Draw a vertical line through the middle and measure 15 to 17 centimeter up and down. Distribute the rest of the measure, maximum 3 centimeters, and draw the dart. So 3 centimeters goes here. But if the measure between 36 and 6 is more than 6 centimeters, you have to use 2 darts in the back piece. If that's the case, extend the line from 10 to 18 downwards and place the smaller dart here. From here, you divide the rest of the back towards center back into 2 and place the 3 centimeter wide dart here. Then place the leftover measure in the smaller dart that is a few centimeters shorter up and down. On the front piece, mark the vertical sleeve projection line as 38 on the hip line and use the same measures from 34 to 35 plus 2 centimeters extra to the left and mark it 39. From 39 to the right, measure half of the hip circumference plus 2 to 3 centimeters in extra width and mark it 40 past center back. Between 7 and 40 appears a difference measure beyond center back, which will be used for adding width on the hips later on. On the waistline, mark the side seams on the front 43A and on the back 43. On the hip line, mark the side seams 44A on the front and 44 on the back. Next, take the difference measure on the hip line from 7 to 40 and distribute this measure on each side of the hip. Add 44 and 44A. Like that, the missing width on the hips is added back. Now draw the hip curves from the raised waistline points down to the hip line with your curved ruler, according to your shape. From the waist to the hip line, like that. On each side. Now, from the hip line You draw vertical lines down to the lower edge and mark the back 45 and the front 46. The front surplus from 35 to 37 on the waistline, and between 39 and 41 on the hip line are measured and removed around the chest incision line. So you take this measure here, distribute it on each side of the chest incision line in the waist, and distribute the same on the hip, that measure. Then you connect these points to the bust height at 26 and vertically down to the bottom edge. Curve the lines towards 24 like shown here. Use the curved ruler. Finally, you move the shoulder seam 1 centimeter to the front by going 1 centimeter down here on the front piece, and you add 1 centimeter up on the back shoulder. That's it. The next step is to copy the pattern onto transparent pattern paper. Like I did here. And add some seam allowance. I always use 1.5 centimeters all around, except for the bottom, where I add 3 to 4 centimeters. You cut out the 2 pattern pieces. On the back piece, you place the line on top of the incision from the armhole. Move the pattern up to the other side, and like that you open this part when you draw in the rest of the pattern up here. So you have a shoulder dart instead of this. To optimize the fit, sew a fitting model in cheap cotton fabric. But before sewing it, mark the bust, waist and hip guidelines onto the fabric. So you mark this line, this one and this one onto the fabric. It will make it much easier to see if the dress is balanced and to make the necessary adjustment at the fitting. There will always be some adjustment at the fitting, and it will be easier if you have someone to assist you. Remember to transfer the adjustment back to the basic pattern. But apart from that, you should always keep the basic pattern clean and take copies on transparent pattern paper if you want to make major design alterations. I hope this explanation and demonstration was helpful. If you don't want to rewatch the video over and over again, you can purchase and download a detailed step-by-step guide in the description below. From this basic pattern, there are endless possibilities to create whatever you want. If you are interested, I can elaborate on design options, dart manipulation, and sewing techniques in later videos. Suggestions are also very welcome. Let me know how your dress pattern turns out in the comments below. If you have any questions or experience any problems, don't hesitate to comment on the video and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you like what I'm doing, comment or consider hitting the like button. When you subscribe to my channel, you will be notified when I post a new video. See you in my next video about the dress sleeve pattern. Bye for now.